Let's start with an update from our little insectoid hive mind parasite friends. Still trying to spread their infection onto the bigger Earth. And there's always money for a new rocket, of course. Let's pull the rockets back and rewind to this image. Well, here we go again. This is of course a miniature of our crater. They even show the little craters surrounding our crater. Oh, they like to play these little mind games. And here again, a so-called failure of the rockets. Look, they are showing us the horns of Satan. Oh my god, I'm so afraid. But still, they manage to land on the place where the cameras are waiting. The fire of the resurrected phoenix. Look, they are showing us some numbers. May I ask you, while watching this video, to put your masks on, please? Because the virus has mutated. It is spreading through the internet now. One of my viewers commented that the center of Jerusalem reminded him of the Schumann resonance. Well, if this is true, the Schumann resonance might not be what they have been telling us. Let's go back to the energetic pattern of our crater, the two counter-rotating pyramids. The up-pointing red one and the down-pointing blue one. In the lowest point we have Osiris, king of the underworld. And in the highest point, in the red pyramid, we have the queen of the hive, Isis. So we have the red female energy and the blue male energy. Positive and negative. Let's have a side view of the system. You have the double snake, Isis, and the inverted double snake, the mirror of Isis, or Isis, Osiris. The counter-rotating pyramids are creating a force field, the torus of Ra, Terra. The torus also has two counter-rotating parts. Let's remove the counter-rotating pyramids and take a look at the upper world. You would of course expect the underworld to be red, but the question would be, are we living in hell? Then of course you have the underworld, and the connection between underworld and upper world is the Eye of Ra. The 0 point of this system. Is this the way that consciousness is entering our crater? I have made a ladder of this center because I suspect this is Jacob's ladder. So the question would be, in this system, if you have an upper world, there would also be an underworld. And what is the underworld? Is this the place where we go when we sleep or when we die? top view of this is two counter-rotating squares, and these of course are creating the rings of Atlantis. Now we can take a look at the consequences of this energetic system on the bigger Earth. Because this system is creating an energetic field around it. A circular one, a ball. So this would be the dome. But when you take a look at the underground, you have a second one. This of course would connect to the hollow earth theory. So when you enter the dome, of course, you will have the reflections of moon and sun reflected onto the firmament. So every time our little scientists use their little scientific tools, they end up on a little blue ball. How is that possible? Well, now you know why. They are measuring the force field around this counter-rotating system. And no, we are not flying in space. We are grounded in the bigger Earth. So next time you measure the Schumann resonance, don't call it Mother Earth. Besides, what's in the name? The ISIS human? Schumann resonance? But Houston, we have a problem now. Because one part of the crater is cold. We all know that blue is cold and red is hot. So let's do an experiment with our crater. Take the Solomon system and flip it horizontally. Now the blue tip of the Osiris pyramid is creating Antarctica. And the red tip of the Isis pyramid is creating the continents, with in the middle a cold front, Greenland. I realize now I have created a polar shift. Take a look again at the land masses. Slow down the pyramids. It looks like this rotation is creating the V-shape of our crater. Now I realize this could have something to do with the mud flood. Remember the principle of the galvanic cell. You have a negative blue pole and a positive red pole. Energy is flowing from the negative to the positive. For this example, I have simplified this Solomon system. I have removed the tips of the pyramids, so that leaves only the squares. So all the energy is going from the blue square to the red square. This means now you have a constant energy flow from bottom to top. You can now create buildings that harvest the energy. It is my suspicion that the 7 wonders of the world were doing that. To simplify the story, you could call this Tesla energy. At a certain moment in time, you suddenly have a polar shift. Your whole electrical system comes to a halt. Short-circuited. Complete destruction. Massive fires. Earthquakes. mud floods and landslides. The Solomon mixer is turning the other way now. This is the moment our continents were created. At this critical moment in time, in this power vacuum, the Vatican Vikings are seizing power. To justify this takeover, they claim they have received this power from Jesus Christ himself. To obscure this little lie, they have to shove the papacy timeline into the Roman timeline, thereby adding 450 years into our history, inventing the crucifixion story of Jesus, and also creating the story of the persecution of the Christians during the Roman Empire. To hide this little lie, you have to invent lie after lie after lie. So now you know who puts us on a little blue ball. It's all about money, of course. Lots and lots of money. Well, you have the 1250 Hereford map. When you remove 450 years, that brings you to the year 800, the crowning of Charlemagne, founder of the Holy Roman Empire. Add 450 years and it brings you to the Industrial Revolution. Remember, you are in a Tesla energy-based society. You have a big cataclysm, so then you would have to restart your civilization. Well, to do that you need an industrial revolution, because you have to rethink your electrical systems. As I was making this video, I came to a new insight. It was not 1250 becoming 800, it is 1700 becoming 1250. The Hereford map itself has been predated. So now I understand how you can find 1700 buildings in the mud flood. Let me explain it. Imagine the crater world until 1700. This crater is filled with obelisks, ziggurats, pyramids, temples of Greek, Roman, Islamic, Gothic style, you name it. Then you have a flood. But some of these buildings, of course, are still standing. Then you have the Vatican Viking takeover, and 1700 becomes 1250. But now you have two time periods called 1250 to 1700. So in 1700 you have a cataclysm. The whole world would be fleeing from this enormous disaster. The world and what is left over of it would be one refugee camp. 20 years later, you have these high quality buildings and paintings made by refugees? I don't think so. I think the Renaissance stands for the rebirth of a new timeline. The buildings and paintings, of course, are from the old timeline. My conclusion would be that buildings built before 1250 is pre-flood. Buildings from 1250 to 1700 could be both. From 1700 to now is after the flood. Is there any evidence of this major cataclysmic event? in 1250? I would say yes. So the Vikings rewind time to 1250, but they have a problem, of course, because in the Americas it's still 1700. This has to be corrected, of course. Let's take a look at the events of the Little Ice Age. 1250. The Atlantic pack ice began to grow. 1300. Warm summers stopped being dependable in Northern Europe. 1315. The rains and the Great Famine. 1550. Beginning of the worldwide glacial expansion. 1650. The first climatic minimum. In 1492, Columbus discovers America. Seems like the Indians weren't afraid of a little cold. In the middle of those cataclysmic weather events, Columbus is looking for a new sailing route. Let's take a look at the temperature curves. 1250, start of the Little Ice Age. 1492, Columbus supposedly discovers the Americas. 1600 to 1700, the Dutch Golden Age, and 1700, start of the Industrial Revolution. You might ask yourself, why did I take the Dutch Golden Age as an example? There are hundreds of paintings of Dutch masters depicting the extreme winter weather. Also a Flemish master, Bruegel. This confirms we are talking real history here. I think that Columbus is a little blue ball hoax. Well, you might say, what about the conquistadors and the pyramid building Indians? I think this is pre-flood history. These Indians are new time history, after the flood. Take a look again at the date 1550, beginning of worldwide glacial expansion. At exact the same time, the Dutch Golden Age is starting. What is happening here? Take the world map and put in some additional ice. Now a boat from Holland can follow the ice and end up in New York. And when you're hungry, you can always stop along the coast and eat an ice bear. I think there was no discovery of the Americas. It was an organic, natural process. The ice had provided a new trade route. Refugees from America were now trading with refugees from Europe. But when happened the time reset in the Americas? Well, I'm not sure. I would say follow the cross. Double crossed? Possibility 1. Fight against the British in 1600. 1600 in Europe would have been 2050 in the Americas. Possibility 2. The Civil War. 1860 would have been 2310. Let's take the Capitol building of 1793. The question you might ask yourself, is this Tesla technology or Industrial Revolution technology? I would say Tesla technology. This means that this building is from before 1700. This means that these pictures are fraud. So they want to make us believe that the Capitol was built during the Civil War. Why? What was really happening in the Civil War? Could it have been a takeover? Or an invasion? That would mean that the Union Army are the Vatican Vikings, and the Southern Army would be the civilians defending their country. Was the Union Army having a technological advantage?
Ever since I was a youngster, I've had a great personal admiration for Abraham Lincoln. So when we decided to bring to Disneyland's visitors some great moments in Mr. Lincoln's life.
Well, when Walt Disney calls him Mr., I'm getting very suspicious.
The world has never had a good definition of the word liberty.
Sounds more like slavery to me. At this stage, I even wonder if Lincoln even existed. There's something very strange about this guy. I think they took the local undertaker to play the role. The Civil War is a constructed history, and probably the moment they did a reset in time. Let me end this American story with this building. Clearly Tesla technology, so it would date from before 1700. Now the question would be, did Nikola Tesla really exist? That would be asking, did Bin Laden really exist? Maybe, but not in the way they tell you. If this technology dates from before 1700, Tesla must have lived before 1700. But he looks like a guy from 1800. And there are photographs of him. But maybe he was reinventing the technology of people from before 1700. Well, his technology would have never worked, because he was missing one major piece of the puzzle: the counter-rotating pyramidal system. So I think that Tesla is a decoy. Same for this Atlitzkalnen. My guess would be to send people on a wild goose chase. The Illuminati have hidden technology from Tesla. They are jumping timelines.
You've got to be kidding!